Whatever Stacey Abrams wants is what Stacey Abrams gets.
That is a damn lie, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's my goal, is to get her to curse. That's why I'm doing a podcast, just because I've been held at bay. Like my expletive use, which my friends know about. They're like, when are you going to start saying 4-letter words on the air? And I'm like, not till now.
My mom listens to this podcast.
I know,
so,
and you're the daughter of
two pastors.
some godly people. So I hear you.
Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, who is under
Oh, you're
fire
not calling
right
him
now.
the war secretary?
I
I'm with
refuse.
you.
I refuse.
I'm right here with you.
I write fiction for a living. I refuse to repeat it unless I'm reading aloud from a book.
Here.
But, he's under fire right now because a Washington Post report that is dangerous to tell the truth about right now, exposed that he gave a verbal order for a second strike to kill all survivors on a boat in the Caribbean on September 2nd. And we know that over 80 people have been killed in these extrajudicial strikes. But the one that seems to resonate for the first time is this one. And it's creating this broad reaction where, Don Bacon and Tim Kaine are aligned. Why do you think this story is the one that's resonating? And why do you think it has created such a Sturm und Drang in a place that has seemed impervious to actual conscience?
Well, I think there are a number of reasons. First of all, the story itself is so gutting, right? You can actually, this goes back to my contention about storytelling and like that the sort of putting yourself in those people's places makes it resonate much more profoundly. And the idea that these two people in the boat were, after a missile strike, hanging on to the smoldering wreckage and then ordered and then killed and then blown up. You can see for a minute, like, I don't know. I just envisioned in my head. I saw them, I could see them hanging. We've all seen enough action movies, but the sort of tragedy of that, and the fact that they're so clearly not posing an immediate threat to the United States. There are two people floating in the water after their boat has been destroyed, clinging to life. So the depravity of that strike, the second strike, I think is really emotionally resonant. The other is like Pete Hegseth and his clownish pompadour and his lack of qualifications and his history of being inebriated and unqualified and all sorts of other incompetencies that should never have allowed him to be in this position. I think for a while, people sort of forgot about it, right? They just sort of let that past live in abstraction, and they sort of were like, okay, but he's now been subsumed by the federal bureaucracy. But here we have an example of someone who's just grossly unqualified for the job, doing the most serious thing that the job demands, which is ordering the slaughter of people and using SEAL Team 6 to do it. And it just is a reminder of the discrepancy between how ultimately unserious as a person and as a national character Pete Hegseth is, and the staggering like weight of the decisions he's being asked or he's being allowed to make. And I think that is particularly resonant too. Like, oh, that clown is doing these things in our name. And then I think the other piece of it is like, I at the risk of sounding overly bullish, I think it's coming at a time when the administration is weakened. I think the Epstein saga, which again is not over, and the effectively unanimous consent from Congress to go against the president's wishes, his flailing about in and around that, and the sense that maybe there were cracks in the MAGA facade, I think makes this feel like a moment where they're actually vulnerable and where someone maybe potentially committing a war crime and obviously so, which is to say the Secretary of Defense doing something that seems clearly unconstitutional, is going to have repercussions in a way that, even a month or two ago, it would seem like, oh, well, these guys are impervious to law and constitution. Now it feels like you guys might actually pay a price for this. So I think that is increased the appetite to know more about what happened, and the feeling on the Hill to echo your point earlier, that this guy can be held accountable. Like, this administration is not, they have done so many things wrong, and it's about time that there is some bipartisan agreement about holding them accountable for it. So I guess it's like three different levels of it as to why I think that story is particularly resonant right now.
No, I think that makes sense. Part of what I have been grappling with, I worry that we are reading this political fracturing that started with the Epstein files and now seems, to your point, to be extending into the foreign policy. I mean, Mike Turner said, this might be a war crime, and the House committee is saying we need to look into it. But I worry that we are reading this as sort of a cinematic moment where there's this dramatic turning point and all will be right. And so would love for you to join me in my cynicism and explain why this is, well,
we're women.
Important.
We're women with brown parents. Like,
Yes.
We're not thinking everything's going to turn out and be okay. Come on now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think let's all lower the bar. These are the Trump years. Like, things happen in increments, and I think, as with much progress, there's like 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or 4 steps back. But I do think, I think, first of all, it's accountability. It's like, accountability, pass it on. It's like one of these things where if you say they can't be held accountable often enough, people start believing that they can't be held accountable. But that's why I think optimism, cautious though it may be, is warranted, and not only warranted, but needed, because, it especially for people on the Hill, they need to be told that it can be done. They need to be told that you don't have to kneel and bend and kiss the ring and beg and scrape. Like, they need, and I'm speaking specifically of the Republican Party, but even to some Democrats, they need to be made aware that it doesn't have to be like this. And I think the best way to do that is to be encouraging and to like open the aperture a little bit to the possibility that the Trump administration doesn't just run roughshod over the Constitution. So, that's why I think it's important to be bullish as opposed to bearish. But I also think it's about, just laying out exactly how much we expect from the moment. I don't think we should be overly expectant that this is the end of Trump's power and that he's a lame duck and nobody's going to listen to him ever again, in large part because he is the Republican Party. They got nothing without this dude. They got nothing. And they're going to cling. I don't mean to be, doing a callback to the strike, but they will be clinging to that life raft for as long as they can because they have nothing without it. And it is all toxic. Like, there is no good part of the Trump agenda that like it would be okay for them to hold on to. Like, it's all bad. It's all, against democracy. But the Republican Party is up in flames, and they're going to be holding on to the burning embers as long as they can. So we shouldn't expect, capitulation towards lawfulness and, accountability, but we should encourage people to keep our elected officials accountable and to hold them to our Constitution.